In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Wildcard weekend. Super wildcard week. Excuse me. Super wildcard weekend.
Straight.
That was a lot. That was a lot of football. I don't know that I can remember another time where we've had basically that much continuous high leverage football. It was awesome.
I mean, it's been an odd year though. Like I'm less shocked and awed by things. We've had multiple double Monday nights. We've had Tuesday night. We've had a Wednesday night football. We've had odd Saturdays. So it's one of those years where you just roll with it, I guess. And I liked it. I liked having 6 games. It was a lot. It's gonna make me feel a little at ease. Like I looked at the schedule just now. In fact, I was texting my wife about it. And they're like, "Hey, there's only like 4 games next weekend. The Saturday one doesn't start till 3:30. You have me all morning. Like, don't worry.
Sunday wipes out the whole day.
Yeah, Sunday does kind of wipe out the whole day,
but that's fine.
Saturday night will be fine. So. Yeah, my family does miss me too. It'll be a brave. Well, no Monday night football. I'll hang out with them tonight. Yes, bragging. I like this. Wife brag. Yes. No big deal. I am stuck with someone. So,
man.
Some good football, some horrible football, some fun games, some exciting results. Things. Somebody said, I'll have to go back and listen, that during this one with Suma, I called it an 8-point win by Tampa. I'm like, it's just going to land on 8 and push. And I said 30. I think he said I said 34, 20 or whatever. I was like 1 point off on each of the scores. So every once in a while, blind squirrel.
Clairvoyance.
Yes. Yeah. But let's start with that one.
Clairvoyance.
Is that the first game?
No, the first game was Bills Colts, right?
Oh,
we're reacting? We're reacting, I thought, right?
Yeah, let's react.
Okay. Bills Colts was weird. Colts were the right side, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew you were paying a premium for the Bills.
I knew it too.
Did it anyway. I did it anyway. I liked them to get the offense going. They just the defense let me down. They were up 14, they were up 11. It just wasn't meant to be.
You know what? The defense didn't even really let us down. I don't think. The defense did their job.
First half defense, I was happy with.
Yeah. The defense did their job, and they limited the big plays on the running game until it was kind of out of reach-ish almost. And then, so they held their own. They didn't get a lot of pressure on Rivers. I was hopeful that in the absence of some of the key offensive linemen for the Colts, they would get a little more pressure on Rivers. That was not to be. The bet on the Bills and paying the premium to back the Bills was largely because you were betting on Phillip Rivers will make a mistake at some point in this game. And that is generally a good bet. But for whatever reason, maybe he knows this is his last ride. Maybe he's just experienced enough that he's not making mistakes in the playoffs when the leverage is high because he's a vet. But whatever the case was, he was clean. He was making good decisions in this game. In fact, the play sequencing was poor overall for Reich. He was run, pass way too predictably in this contest. And Phillip Rivers did a damn decent job of bailing them out with some passing, I thought, throughout the duration of this game. Kind of got them into it from, you kept them in it, really. And it was the very last drive where he kind of faltered a bit. Credit to the Bills defense for stepping up and making a couple plays on that drive. I thought they got that fumble that should have ended the game. The refereeing was there was so much football that happened after this. We forget about this, but the refereeing was so poor in that game, and their decision there to make such a high leverage call that gave the Colts more life was weird. I didn't think it was right, but so be it.
You cannot recover a fumble with your gooch. It's just your grundle, whatever you want to call it. I know it's like soda and pop. It's taint in some parts of the country, but like, what was that? Was that what we're talking about, or was that the?
No, we're talking about the one where
that's Seattle. I can't even.
The Colts.
Yeah, that's the Colts
made the catch down the field, and
Okay,
the ball
I'm
got
mixing
ripped
up
out.
all the terrible calls.
The guy wasn't touched; he was down. He stood up, and Pryor ripped the ball out, and they called him down by contact. Yeah, no, it was.
I can't even keep all the weird.
I think
high leverage calls apart.
I think the Gooch recovery was in the Giants Cowboys game, man. What's going on with you today?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, kids of the Mondays, my man.
I'm still stuck on the Gooch call.
That was Wayne Gallman for the Giants eliminating.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. How am I stuck 2 weeks in the past? All right, we're just gonna scrap this and start over.
Yeah, that's a lot of Gooch.
I'm still stuck. It's just been weeks of this stuff. There's been some weird calls up and down. The calling the first pass down the sidelines, a catch when the ball is like rolling around. A couple of the just the stuff that had to be reviewed. The one coach having to take a timeout to get them to actually look at a call. There was a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, the Colts ran the ball effectively. It just wasn't quite enough. Bills, I don't know, playoff win.
I think the Colts shot themselves in the dick. I mean, honestly, like the coaching mistakes that were made by Frank Reich in that game were not as egregious as the ones we saw yesterday. So we've already forgotten about them.
Yeah.
But let's not forget that Frank Reich settled for a field goal on their first drive deep into Buffalo territory in the first half of that game. And on record before the game, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to have to score touchdowns if we're going to win this game. He settled for a field goal. The red zone play calling on the second opportunity that they got stopped at the goal line. It was bad play calling. The protections weren't great overall in those high leverage moments either. And in the second half of the game, he had a couple of boneheaded field goal go for it decisions too, I thought. Yeah. It was weird. Like he wasn't really feeling himself in terms of the normal Frank Reich in-game decision making that makes him plus EV in general to back. And he's eliminated for it. And the Colts go home.
Yeah, and it is a good point. As before we get on to some of these other games, you do almost forget about some of those. They weren't egregious, but they were the wrong calls. The lack of aggressiveness from Frank Reich. You forget about it because of the Titans punt and the Steelers punt. Like the fact that those were so crazily egregious that you just kind of space out a game that happened. I mean, this game happened long enough ago that I thought it was part of the Colts or the Giants game.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's right. A couple other thoughts I had on my notes. Josh Allen, 300 yards passing, but it was pretty uninspiring.
The really worst playoff sack I've seen. So far, the worst sack in the playoffs. I mean, I get trying to do something, make something out of nothing, but giving up a 23-yard sack there wasn't good.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was the drive to cover.
That's right. That was, and I would say the Bills defense in general soft in that fourth quarter, giving up those 14 points on some huge chunk plays through the air. Yeah. Like if your whole defense is sequenced and set up to allow to try to incentivize teams to run, it can't be that bad in the end of game scenarios. That makes they're vulnerable to the back door. That was wild. Josh Allen, I did not think had an especially impressive game. He really struggled to read the cover two concepts early in that one. It took him a while to kind of find his form. It wasn't to the second half of the game until we really saw a dangerous Josh Allen out there. So it was, I guess I don't feel as scared of the Bills after that game as I was going into it. Is that an unfair reaction? I mean, the Bills is still a team that were scoring 30, 40 comfortably down the stretch. And now they win 27-24. And all of a sudden I'm like, nah. The Bills, whatever. I mean, is there a little potential for a market overreaction on selling the Bills this week?
I think Josh Allen will cut, and we'll get to that game, and we'll get to it deeper on Wednesday. But I think Josh Allen looked a little bit like he looked in the first game last year, It's like he's not comfortable. He's nervous here in the playoffs. I think maybe a game under his belt he looks better, but no, I mean you're right. I'm not sure if some of it was play calling or if some of it was Josh himself, but he didn't look like he's looked in previous weeks. And those weren't. It's not like the Ravens were they played shitty teams. It's like no, they played some quality teams down the stretch and they looked pretty good. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't know if I'll be getting involved in that game, but from a live betting standpoint, if Josh looks confident, if Josh looks how he looked in the end of the regular season compared to how he looked in that game, the Bills are certain lively in that game. So
okay. Also, I forgot the Colts jumping off sides, giving the Bills a first down on that end of the first half drive that gave them a first down where they eventually got the touchdown. Josh Allen on the ground was dangerous. Josh Allen through the air was less inspiring, less scared of that guy. Okay. Colts Rams. Can you give me a 5-minute breakdown on this one? You watched this one more closely than I did because I was watching on my phone at the park.
This was a janky ass game, man. Like you had to go with you weren't sure who the quarterback was going to be. A little bit before the game, they say, Goff's warming up. Everyone sees video of warming up. They go with Wolford anyway. Wolford didn't look bad. And then Wolford legitimately hurt his neck very badly. It wasn't a dirty play. It's football. I don't think anything was malicious about that hit. It was a hard hit by a hard-hitting player. So that sucks because Goff, you could tell, wasn't quite right with his touch. I don't know how numbed up that thumb was. The story of this is Seattle's offense sucks. This is the Bears game. Seattle was worse than the Bears from an offensive standpoint at points. One of these scores was a late garbage touchdown. The pick six, I don't know if I've ever seen a pick six on a screenplay. I can't think of one.
It's been a while.
When you see a defender flashing in there, the quarterback just throws it at the ground ahead of him. Just try to, you throw it at the feet of the receiver so nothing bad happens. That was such a poor decision. And it turned out to be a really big, I never saw the Rams scoring 30 in this game. We liked the Rams and the points, said maybe a money line look. Of course I didn't bet it. It's
really,
well, I didn't bet it for anything substantial. Of course, I bet every one of these games just for
that was the only dog I could make a case for. Wasn't the only dog that covered.
They looked good at times. Down the stretch, they looked good on offense in the second half. Cam Akers just gashing Seattle. Seattle just couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't figure out the offense, and for some reason, this is an off-season topic. Why did they decide to go more run heavy on first down when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league? So, the big story here is just Seattle not getting the offense going. The pick six was big. The Rams wouldn't have had the ball as much if Seattle had longer sustained drives. I don't think the Rams don't get to 30 if Seattle quits punting.
Let's zero in on Seattle for a second then. Yeah. They went up against a tough defense. The Rams defense is the best in the NFL.
It is.
I don't even know if that's a controversial take.
It's not.
There was some expectation going into this game. Some people who liked the Seahawks, some people who were making the case that the Seahawks were going to be frisky in the playoffs in general, who were basically like, "Oh, forget about the fact that the Seahawks didn't look great down the last half of the season. They can flip the switch, right? They'll look like themselves," and it didn't manifest. Now, some of that was, in my opinion, at least, the headspace of the head coach and the offensive coordinator. Pete Carroll and Brian Schottenheimer had a vision for this offense that was not up to up to par with the rest of what the NFL is doing right now. It was just bad vision in general. Coming out after in kind of the season post-mortem and saying stuff like, we're really going to focus on the run for next season. It's like, that's the lesson you're taking away from this year. That is the lesson. That's a huge problem. Seattle is a franchise that I have humongous questions about going forward. Rams, on the other hand, Sean McVay continues to make amazing adjustments at halftime. maybe the best second half coach to bet on in today's NFL, which is wild because, so much of what I like about him is not his in-game decision making, but apparently his second half adjustments are just rock solid, unimpeachable. Jared Goff did look like he injured his thumb some more. They shot it up. It's probably not going to be totally healthy. Aaron Donald's not going to be totally healthy. Cam Akers may not have as much pop on the road in the cold.
The knee wasn't as bad as we thought. Like that.
Oh, okay.
I think he just bruised it.
Okay. We'll cover injuries and what we're expecting the market to do when we talk about the actual games coming up next weekend. But those were my general.
Yeah, I mean, Donald will play, but he legitimately tore cartilage away from the bone. Like he's going to play with a bunch of shots. That's basically what's going to happen. So,
what's interesting?
It is a tough defense. And maybe I was too harsh on Seattle, but Seattle is the kind of team that has the playmakers to beat a tough defense. And they decided to use play sequencing, play calling, play design, and play execution that was not going to do it today. Saturday. What they did just wasn't going to work. I'm surprised the Rams offense getting 23 was something. All things considered, all things considered, with the going with Wolford, having the backup get hurt, having to go with the guy with a numbed up thumb just off surgery, the fact that they would have won without the pick six, I guess. It's hard to say with how the sequencing of the game went, but them getting to 23 was also bad. Like the Seahawks not being able to stop that. It's not like the defense is good, but when we did find out Jamal Adams was a little more dinged up than we thought, he's having a major surgery after he couldn't tackle. I mean, you could see it. He wanted no part of tackling.
Yeah. Okay. Nightcap here, Washington football team, valiant effort against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers covering.
Heineke.
It covered every number, right? It was 8 to 8.5 to 9.5 to 10, back to 8.5. Like they covered every number. Maybe there was a push if you bet early on Washington. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't
remember seeing.
I think it was 8 as we talked about it early in the week, but
Bucks were the cherry teaser leg of the playoffs so far. The only basic strategy teaser leg that was available to this point, and they came through. Although that was kind of a sweat late. It looked like they were going to win by 2. It's like check your teaser number. Check your teaser number. That was kind of crazy. Bucks offense was unstoppable when they went to the air. Unstoppable. Part of the handicap coming into this game was the Washington football team is going to be, their defensive line is legit. They're going to give Brady, some pressure. They're going to put him under pressure. They're going to bring out bad Brady. No, not to be. In fact, they were unable entirely to generate anything up the middle. All of the times they got pressure was around the outside. Tampa Bay simply just made them go the long way, and by the time they got there, the ball was gone. It was one of the kind of clear and obvious things that you saw in the first half of that game. Like the offensive line for the Bucks is having a good day. The Washington football team defense ain't getting home, which is a huge problem because the Washington football team secondary is quite bad. And they had whatever they wanted through the air. They used a lot of Leonard Fournette in this one, to my horror, but it didn't really hurt them one way or the other.
Yeah, I like how much Fournette was getting there. I could just hear you cringing. Didn't both of the NFC South games feel a little similar as far as like this team could be doing a lot more on offense, but they're not. I don't know if they're just they're holding back for the next round because they have an inferior team. The NFC South teams, the Saints and the Bucks, both played probably the 2 worst teams that had made the playoffs. Like they had easy roads. Obviously, Tampa had a little tougher by having to travel, but at the same time, you're playing Taylor Heineke, who, by God, we underestimated this kid. All heart, all grit. Like he super try hard. He risked it for the biscuit. He's going to end up somewhere next year, I think. So maybe here. Not a starter, probably, but yeah. It did feel like if the Bucks wanted to put up more points, what they were doing was working. And if they needed, a late score to pull away, they could have got it. So never felt like it was in doubt. So, but also good for anybody who took the late 10.5s or whatever. Just it felt good. Felt good to cash the big tickets once things got out of control, and it felt like that right away. Like the reaction to Alex Smith being out was to, bet Tampa. People bet Tampa and it went up, and then he got in, and people are, all over Twitter. It's like, oh shit, it's not a 2.5 point downgrade. It's a 2.5 point upgrade. Like, well, what are we doing here?
I think altogether, your Tampa Bay offense is as healthy, as solid, as strong as you would have hoped at this time of year.
Especially for what happened during the season and how glass-like Evans has been. Godwin has had injuries in the past. Obviously, we don't have to talk about Gronk's injury history and how old he is. And the fact that you got a 400-year-old quarterback to this point in the season healthy.
Antonio Brown.
You're set up. Antonio Brown, who knows what kind of shape he was, for as long as he's been away for the game. So, they're in great position as far as health, all things considered.
Bucks defense, on the other hand, against a debutant, Taylor Heineke, gave up a lot. They gave up a lot of yards, a lot of soft looks.
A lot of it was with a lead, or at least a double. They were in a game state where they had a 2-score lead for a lot of the game, though.
So you're giving up 15-yard passes for the fuck of it? I mean, they were.
I don't know if it was soft for the sake of just. Not getting burnt over the top. It didn't feel like it was full prevent, but the game state did just kind of dictate. I don't know how aggressive you be on defense at that point, especially and to their you don't have a lot of tape on Taylor Heineke as well. Maybe that could have been part of the reason why he did look so good. All week you're prepping for 2 different quarterbacks. That's a disadvantage, even though we just said that it was an easy matchup. So I give him a break on there, but I don't think the Tampa's defense is all it's cracked up to be.
They gave up 50 yards on the ground and 300 yards through the air to Taylor Heineke. That's not good. Part of me thinks that there's a better Bucks defense behind the what we saw on Saturday, and they were saving some of their juice for this matchup coming up this weekend. I don't think that's crazy, but I was very disappointed in the Tampa Bay defense in that game. If you had told me beforehand that Tampa Bay was going to get to 31, I would have said, yeah, for sure they are. Absolutely. If you were going to tell me Washington was going to get to 23, I would have said, whoa, what happened to the Bucks defense? And that's kind of my main takeaway of this game, really. I do think you're right. You could have seen Tampa Bay could have flexed some more. They could have scored more points if they felt like they had to have it. But I thought the defense.
They you're saying how much they gave up, but they gave up 75 yards on a drive that took 11 plays that, where they're up 28. What were they up? They were up 28-16 with like 6 minutes left. So, 75 yards on a drive like that, that feels like soft yards. Like that feels like, oh, we're in a soft spot here. And then they went and used up a couple minutes, got a field goal, kind of put it where, it still ended up being on an 8 at that point.
It was the same shit that they did against the Giants.
Yeah.
In that game, that Tampa Bay Giants game on primetime as well, where they let them come right down the field back door and score that touchdown and stop the 2-point conversion from sending that game to overtime. On that drive, you noted they gave up 16-yard pass through the air, 3rd and 3 conversion that was extremely soft. There wasn't even very many third downs, honestly. 3rd and goal from the 10, they gave up an 11-yard pass to Sims. I mean, it was soft. It was unimpressive. It was uninspiring. And they gave the Washington football team the ball back with outside the 2-minute warning and an 8-point margin.
I know, getting a touchdown, and that's where I was still more disappointed in the offense at that juncture, because the offense needed to pick them up and get the touchdown, put it completely out of reach, give the ball back, and say, F you, we win. So something to look for in the obviously a much tougher matchup coming up for them.
Yeah, the Tom Brady getting sacked was kind of a key play on that drive that stopped them from getting that touchdown. But that was my general takeaway, was uninspired by Tampa, really, top to bottom. I don't know if that influences their number this week or not, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. Early
Sims was good. So. Did you watch any of this one?
Baltimore won. All right. Yeah, Baltimore. Man, I got a lot of thoughts on this one. Do you want to kind of frame it first?
Yeah, I mean the joke was like deja vu when it was 10-0.
Yeah,
Lamar. I mean, and they said it on the only guy on Twitch. There we go. I mean, they said it on the broadcast and they nailed it, as broadcasters rarely do. Like that route, what the receiver did and the play call were nice. And then Lamar throws it 5 yards inside. That just a crazy mistake to make there, because they weren't that far out. They weren't out of it. It was early. I mean, obviously they still weren't out of it at 10-0, but to throw that ball so far to the inside when all you have to do is throw that to the outside, where it's either your guy catches it or he's carried out of bounds, or if the ball lands out of bounds. Like that was just such a bad mistake. And I'm like, oh man, if this is what he's going to do today, they're toast. They're absolutely toast. So the fact
getting pushed around too.
And yeah, they were getting pushed around in both the offensive and defensive line. They were getting beat in the trenches, to, more announcer cliches, but they were. I mean, they were getting out physicaled everywhere. Tennessee was kind of the Tennessee scoring drive, the touchdown drive, they looked like they were going to do that. The fact that Tennessee has 13 points is the biggest surprise in this whole thing. After that first touchdown, the only touchdown drive, I'm like, Tennessee's going to put up 35 today if they play like that. Turned out, we talk about scripted drives and stuff, but yeah, the fact that Tennessee was held to 13 was amazing. That credit to Baltimore. I mean, credit to the Baltimore defense, I guess, for stepping up. Yeah. That's the biggest takeaway. Like Lamar played better. Obviously, Lamar on the ground played amazing. That run he ripped off. I mean, a couple of the runs he ripped off. He ended up with like 100 what?
I don't even have the top rusher of the weekend. 14-1.
I think it was top rusher of the weekend. So yeah. He ended up with some really eye-popping numbers from a rushing standpoint, but still some of the throws he made were not great early. He made up for it, but I don't feel supremely confident in this offense. If that's the performance you're going to get against a really, really, really bad Tennessee defensive secondary. That said, Buffalo has Trey White, but it's not a good defense by any means. So I think it's almost like a similar matchup. Tennessee and Buffalo are eerily similar. Obviously Buffalo doesn't have track. Yeah, they don't tend to run so much, and maybe that's to their advantage, because there was a lot of run pass. Run, manageable third down, incomplete pass, punt. Both teams. It was awful from a standpoint of that. So.
Oh yeah. If we want to have zero in on Tennessee first, the biggest criticism goes to head coach Mike Vrabel.
Oh yeah, the punt, man.
1 year ago, Vrabel took his team into Baltimore against the superlative Baltimore Ravens, 14-2, number 1 seed, MVP on the other side of the ball from him. Vrabel took that team in there, and they played with their hair on fire. They won every high leverage down. They converted every fourth down attempt. They had innovative red zone play calls. They stopped every key fourth down attempt that Baltimore had. They made every play in that game, and they understood the magnitude of the moment, it felt like. And then to see yesterday, in contrast to last year, was incredible. Incredible. He was gutless in that game. The punts, there was one punt in his own territory, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, maybe. This is like right around midfield, where it was like, like that's weird. I wonder why Vrabel didn't go for that. Like usually, like he would know this is like this is a big game. This is a big moment. You're a home dog. Like this team's capable of of giving it to you if they click all of a sudden offensively. He punts, and then later from the opponent's 40 to punt it on fourth down was just remarkably bad decision making. I didn't understand it at all. And then I think the broadcast was amplifying a lot of my feelings about this, but the Art Smith game plan of we're going to get Derrick Henry going to our
no matter what, at all costs.
If it kills us, we're going to get him going. Well, guess what? It killed you. It killed you.
He
JJ
finished
Brown,
80 yards below his prop
not
for the day.
shocked. Are you shocked? I mean,
No.
the announcers on the game were like shading my perception a little bit because he got in the fourth quarter and they're like, "Oh, Derrick Henry time. He's worn him down. Now he's gonna rip off."
No, they literally said that he had like 1 6-yard run and he broke he broke a tackle at like the at the point of contact, and they said that's what happens. That's the cumulative effect of Derrick Henry just pounding you all day, and then he didn't do shit after that.
Yeah, and it was like you guys recognize he still has yet to convert a first down on the ground today. In fact, I think their only first down converted on the ground was the Ryan Tannehill 4th and 1 sneak towards the end of the game.
Tannehill was, I think, the first play of the game. Tannehill ran too. Like, God, they should use it. I'm like, they should use that more, and they didn't hardly use it.
Man, boy, did they whiff
the Tannehill bootleg, the naked bootleg run.
I was fearing, as a Baltimore stakeholder, I was fearing that all game long.
It's a good play.
They never went to it. And you know what was even more ridiculous about the play calling and the criticism specifically for Art Smith here? They were running and running and running and running on early downs to quote unquote establish the run, right? And as you were watching it, you were like, I think he is building up a pattern of trying to put this defense to sleep, and they are going to roll out first down play action once they do this, like, I don't know, 5-6 times. And sure enough, the end of that first half, they have a drive. They're deep in their own territory. And the first down, they go play action. And guess what? Everyone on Baltimore was expecting it because they saw the exact same thing. It was a very predictable sequencing of we're going to run so that our play action works. And then lo and behold, the play action didn't work because everyone in Baltimore expected it. And the Baltimore guy gets up in his face, bats the ball back at him. Tannehill catches it for reasons unknown and takes a 10-yard loss.
Brad Johnson scored on one of those ones. I mean, I think absolutely. It's hard to, yes.
Oh, yeah, no. He was probably thinking, I'm going to make a move. But the problem was
Mariota scored on one of those.
Baltimore defense was playing the play action pass on that. They were playing it. They knew it. And that happened a bunch in the second half too. It was the play calling was just too predictable, period. It was too predictable. And that's where you really get in trouble. And people can argue about, well, too high a frequency, early down rushing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that puts you in bad situations at times, and you have to just accept it if it's not working. But the predictableness, the predictable nature of the sequencing was just, it was awesome as a Baltimore stakeholder.
It did. Some of these plays are very confusing.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, I was fine with it as a Baltimore stakeholder, but boy, does my opinion of Art Smith did not improve over the last half of the season into these playoffs at all. No. And Baltimore played the run extremely well. Credit to them. They were a fully healthy defense. They looked a hell of a lot better against the run than we've seen them at times this season. And now flipping the script to Baltimore's offense, Lamar Jackson ripping off that 50-yard touchdown run was like porn. That was so cool. I was jumping up and down and screaming. That was such an electric moment. It felt like it elevated the team overall. And honestly, I felt like that was the turning point in the game. In hindsight, it got him in kind of a more confident mindset. I felt like it turned some of the spying that they were doing on him. Like those guys were thinking twice, like, whoa, we had spies on him and he still did that to us. Now we have to cheat a little bit more to be able to keep, to tackle him if he gets outside the pocket. And overall, Tennessee's defense did a spectacular job, I thought, of kind of reading those bash plays, of reacting quickly and getting the tackles and preventing, just an absolute runaway for the Baltimore rushing game. But when the dust settled, those were the highest consequence plays of the game. The Lamar Jackson run for 50-yard touchdown, and then the Lamar Jackson converting the first down with the 33-yard to ice the game. It was awesome to see it. So happy that he won this game for the Ravens, and that he doesn't have to answer questions for another offseason about your 0-3 in the playoffs. Like this was a big win for Baltimore and for the competitive balance of the AFC in the future.
Yeah.
Very, very happy.
What do you think? So I don't have the exact. I could pull up the drive charts, and I wish we had more access to live historical lines. But what do you think Tennessee's live team total was after that touchdown? Like 27.5?
When it was 10-10?
10-0.
I would have said more. I would have said like
28.5?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's still mind blowing that
They ended with 13 points.
and it isn't if you go back and look at the play sequencing. So
from 10-0, they scored 3 points.
Did the right team win and cover?
And 10-0, they scored 3 points, and it wasn't because of a bunch of turnovers or sloppy play. It was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
How about that? It was self-inflicted. They gave Baltimore, but Tennessee's special teams were excellent. They put Baltimore in bad field position all day long. There wasn't a bunch of penalties committed. It wasn't sloppy play. They literally shot themselves in the foot with their play sequencing and play calling, and that was the deciding factor in the game. Credit to Lamar though for keeping it together, pulling himself together after the terrible first interception, and completing the last 3 quarters of that game like an absolute stud. And I guess the only one other comment I had, it was wild seeing Justin Tucker miss a field goal that was high leverage. My kind of stomach sank in that fourth quarter, seeing him miss that 52-yard. It was a hard field goal.
If that would have been the difference, I can't imagine.
Oh God,
Lamar going 0-3 because of Justin Tucker.
Tucker
missing those, or Lamar going 0-3 because a ref called an OPI on a 4th down conversion on the game icing drive that moved them back 5 yards and made Tucker take another 51 field. That penalty was inexcusable. That guy should be fired. Period. That he wasn't looking at the play. He waited until it was over. He threw the penalty.
That's what I was going to say. The timing of the flag.
That was the whole thing was inexcusable. That was the worst penalty of the weekend.
It's like he waited for them to get the first down and then threw it. Like, I'm not ref conspiracy guy, obviously, but that was something. So
yeah, if they had gotten stopped, he probably wouldn't have thrown the flag. If they had gotten the stop, he probably doesn't throw the flag. But they got the first down, and then he decided there was interference, and he threw it. And you watch the replay, and it was like, are you effing kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you effing kidding me? That was so bad. And honestly, the reffing wasn't great all weekend, but that was the low point. And I don't think it was especially close. Baltimore moves on. Breathe deep sigh of relief there. Wish it was a more comfortable. I would have rather been like the Cleveland game personally, but that's fine. They get through. And they got through
low moments.
And they got through healthy.
Yep, that is big. Speaking of low moments, the Bears made the playoffs. And truthfully, and this is, I mean, there's not a lot to say here. I feel like we touched on New Orleans. We feel like it might be similar to where they kept some of the good stuff for next week. But at the same time, does this game dramatically change if Wims catches that touchdown pass?
I don't think so.
Like, does it still just end up with being somewhere between an 8 and 14 point New Orleans win?
I think so.
Although, but way to let Mitch Trubisky does not have 15 good throws in him. Like, he can hit your short stuff, especially to the right. He can make these easy passes, but that was legitimately a very good throw. He put that exactly where it needed to be. That was like a Russell Wilson drop in the bucket. He'd already used one of his good throws on that sideline pass. Like, he only has a few of those each game. You can't drop that if you're a Bears receiver. He really, really has to be. I mean, I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know, but not catching that was massive. And that was the end of the game. Like, oh, well, if they're going to do that, they might not get to 10 points.
It hurts. It potentially hurts New Orleans if they panic at that point. If there's like a creep of, oh man, we're in trouble at that point, then it potentially hurts New Orleans. But we talked about it at halftime.
Veteran coach, veteran quarterback. Yeah, I'm not sure they panicked.
The adjustments were there, and they went right to it in the second half. The passing game, the running game, the mixing it up. In fact, Sean Payton had his fastball from a play calling perspective in the second half, I thought. Now, the Bears defense played amazing. They played up in that game. Their red zone defense was freaking awesome. Like, how many times did it take the Saints to punch it in on that one trip? They had 5-6 chances with all the flags, and they still couldn't get it in. And then the final drive for the Saints, where they were trying to score 20, get up 28, Bears stop them on 4th and goal. They cannot get it across the line. Um,
I like that it's autocorrected to Kamala. That's how you know politics has entered gambling Twitter too much this year.
yeah. Kamara ends with
But
99
Kamara did
yards.
hit it prop. Like I think I'm like 1 for 15 on prop bets this year. I need to talk to some guys that actually do DFS help me with it because Kamara over rushing and receiving did hit. Took later in the game, but they didn't use him much in the. Patrick just asked, why didn't they use him in the passing game much? I don't know if they're saving that shit. Like
they wanted to get Deontay. When you can get Deontay Harris involved
yeah.
to the tune of 7 targets, you got to do it, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what the plan was, but I thought Sean
Payton's good. He was catching everything. What are you going to can't be mad at him?
His play calling and sequencing was more effective in the second half by a long shot, and that was a big relief for the Saints. Trubisky and the Bears, I don't have much else to say. The garbage time touchdown, I feel bad for our buddy Pizza. Only team he came away with in the Calcutta was the Bears. Paid fair market price for him. He didn't get
far from the touchdown
raked over the coals on that on the cost for that team, but they were very close to having the biggest margin of victory loss. I think that was probably going to be it. And instead of 28-3, we have 21-9. They're the leader in the clubhouse. Do you think 12-point victory holds the next 7 games?
Was it for the Rams?
The 12 isn't the biggest victory on the board. Excuse me.
It was against the spread.
The biggest loss on the board right now is 12-point loss, and it's Chicago Bears.
No, it's Seattle.
Seattle lost by 10.
It's against the spread.
No, I think the loss is just the biggest loss.
No,
the biggest win is
against the spread.
The biggest win is the win against the spread.
Oh, sure. Maybe you're right. Okay.
Is biggest
I'll
loss?
have to look at the rules.
I'm almost sure.
I thought it was ATS stuff. Because if it's ATF stuff, it's Seattle Rams right now.
Okay.
And actually Pittsburgh probably late leader in that.
If it's ATS loss, ATS win. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, because they were 6 point. They closed 6, so.
Yeah, that was a 17-point ATS win.
So that was like, they lost by 12, so they lost by like 18.
I'm almost sure that the loss is just loss.
We'll figure this out later.
And the win is.
Yeah.
The loss is biggest loser by point differential in the 15 playoff games. Biggest winner versus the spread in the 15 playoff games.
Oh, so they are different.
So Bears currently the leader, but 12 points probably doesn't hold, right?
That might not hold up.
Okay. All right. Cleveland, Pittsburgh, funnest game.
That was, you know what? I wish my only regret is not hitting live over more. I knew people who went way more aggressive than me that had numbers near 70 that were very comfortable with them. I had a couple in the 50s. My highest one was 61. I was never in doubt in hindsight. My favorite kind of grading bets is in hindsight. So, I mean, I got a little nervy there when Pittsburgh. I'm like, Pittsburgh needs to freaking score here in the first half. It felt like, they're down 28 and they're running the ball. So I mean, I've had some issues with some of the coaches here, and I like Tomlin as a leader of men. I like Tomlin as a leader of a football team, but
he can develop certain positions
in developing players. But his in-game decision making, the fact that he didn't yell at Fichtner for. Like, I don't know what they're doing running the ball. The fact that they punted was not as bad as the Titans punt, but it was pretty much up there.
It ended. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were two of them.
So
there were two.
Both two of them. Yeah. First half and second half, he had bad punts. And, just some of the decision making they made. They were gifted a touchdown. Pittsburgh made it semi into a game late, which made it fun, especially for totals. But yeah, Big Ben is now like second leading passing game in the playoffs ever. Like that was like the most yards ever thrown outside of the one where Brady threw 505. So I guess Pittsburgh, it's hard to judge this game. Like if that ball doesn't go over his head in the first, if they don't just implode immediately and then Ben is pressing, he's throwing it into the linemen, 3-4 tipped balls. Who knows how this game goes? Like Pittsburgh obviously was overvalued. 6 was probably crazy at that point, but like, what we saw from their offense, like I thought we'd see more of that. I guess points made sense now again in hindsight, but yeah, it's hard to judge a game that gets off to such a wonky start like that.
100%. No, I don't think I think you throw everything out except for coaching decisions after it's 28-0.
Yeah. The rest of the game, how do you judge anything that happened? So
I don't know.
I don't have a lot of takes here.
It's fair to judge Tomlin on the coaching decisions after it was 28-0.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure in what world it makes sense to play field position if you're down 4 scores in the first half. I'm not sure in what world it makes sense to play field position.
The worst part was it worked. That's what I hated.
What's that?
They kicked it. The worst part was that it worked. Like that.
Yeah,
that's
of course. It was confirmation bias all
that's
over.
The worst thing that could have happened to Tomlin was for them to go 3 and out and punch it back.
Yeah, for sure. Pittsburgh struggled containing Hunt and Chubb. Pittsburgh, I guess, and Baker Mayfield, we talked about it last night. He didn't look great, but as far as a playoff debut goes, that was fine.
Better than
he
most.
Did not make the key mistakes. I never felt comfortable about our Pittsburgh second half bet until it was in the books because Mayfield was dangerous out there. 3 touchdown passes, no mistakes, no fumbles, no interceptions, was not sacked. Despite his offensive line being a mash unit going up against the mighty Steel Curtain and presumptive DPOY runner-up TJ Watt. Could not manifest pressure on Baker Mayfield. A lot of credit to the game plan that they came in with, and obviously playing with a lead. Again, you can't really evaluate some of this stuff, but you would have thought Steelers are going to take some chances here on defense, right? They're going to try to create a turnover on defense on any obvious passing down. Why weren't they,
jumping routes, some crazy blitzes? Like, you're already getting gashed by this offense. Who cares if they beat you over the top on a jailbreak?
Exactly.
You get the ball back again.
You get the ball back quicker. Yeah, right. And your offense was moving the ball fine in the second half. So I could not agree with you more. Do you have any other final thoughts on that one? I mean,
probably a few players last games.
Phillip Rivers.
Maybe Phillip Rivers, maybe Big Ben. If Ben and Pouncey are kind of a tandem, he said he'd retire.
What do you think? So that was possibly Ben's last home game in Heinz Field.
Yeah, it sucks.
Pittsburgh is in an effed situation from a cap perspective.
There's a few teams.
I would lean he probably is done. Should we look ahead now?
He's like 41 against the cap next year. They can't have that. So
should we look ahead?
Next week. You know what sucks about this week? We agree with a lot of these numbers.
What's that?
We agree with a lot of these numbers.
Oh yeah. Like all of them?
like all 8.
Yeah. We have four games, and the bummer is that none of these games are really bettable from a side or total standpoint. The couple we talked about during the hour-long Periscope we did yesterday at the Saints-Bears halftime.
Oh yeah.
Already adjusted. We were talking about Green Bay Rams total looked a little high. It's down to 46. We were talking about some games that aren't even going to get played. So that was wasted time. Let's go through the schedule though real quick. Starting with the Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Again, these numbers are damn freaking tight. This is going to be a coin flippers kind of weekend. Yeah.
We said if it's 7.5 or 8, that's way too much. That'll get bad, but like it's never going below 7. And then here it is. It's 7.5. It's a pretty good teaser leg if you're into that, I guess. But at the same time, I'm torn on this. Like, I think it's too many points, but at the same time, I think it's a good teaser leg because Green Bay against a bunch of injured Rams.
I'm going to say 7. Teasing a 6 points.
No, if it's 7.5. If it's 7.5, I'm not teasing a 7. Why? I still hate it. I know. I probably go against the math because I need another leg.
Packers money line is -335. You don't want
that. So
you're
laying 1 point at 261. Well,
your push probability on 1.
Not great.
No,
I mean it's not high.
No, it's not high at all. I think that you're effectively capturing -3, 3, 4, 15-ish. Yeah. You're capturing you're basically getting a -300-ish parlay leg for -261 if you tease 7 to 1. Total is down to 46. That makes sense to me. A couple of interesting wrinkles. And again, we're going to break these down in detail on Wednesday. We're going to mine these hard to try to find edges because there probably are some small ones. I don't know if they're going to be enough to beat the VIG, but there might be.
Paying attention, what we're going to talk about over the next 4 games, paying attention over the next day or two. Because before we get to the Wednesday, we'll do a Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. We'll do a pod with a guest again, go over these 4 games. But between now and then, stuff to watch for is just monitoring a lot of injuries. And coach quotes.
Specifically in this game.
This is the big one.
You want to hear reports about what Goff looks like in practice? You want to hear Aaron Donald, is he practicing? You want to hear, is Aaron Donald expected to get limited snaps or full complement? We want to know Cooper Kupp status with the knee. All Ram stuff, right? It's all Ram stuff. Like the only real problem with Green Bay has already been decided. Bakhtiari's out. He's dead. Out. Everybody. There was one other offensive lineman who's been dealing with injuries. Lindsley, is he 100% now?
I think he's back to fine, especially with the break.
Okay. I guess obviously like on Saturday I was higher on the Rams at 8.5, 8. I thought that was a decent play. Now it's 7 laying the juice. I'm a little less inclined. But I still stand behind the handicap for this game, which is now exactly reflected in the current numbers, is that the Rams defense is the best chance to keep the Green Bay Packers under about 27.
You made a case about Kansas City. You were worried about Kansas City getting COVID. Green Bay. We saw this with Thanksgiving. Teams who had time off, they got COVID. They screwed around. We saw it around Christmas. We're seeing it with this. Yeah.
Green Bay is a little less concerning than Kansas City. And I know both are not especially vibrant metropolises. Metropoli. Is that how you say it?
Appleton seems like a good place to get. No offense to Appleton, Wisconsin. I've been there.
Is that where the guys live mostly?
No, nobody would live there. No, that's where
the
you
Green Bay
stay.
Packers living when they're on their bye.
God, I would probably get a place in Milwaukee.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean it's almost like they're in their own little bubble in Green Bay, so I'm not as worried about them as I would be with Kansas City, because Kansas City players, it's a little bit more of an urban environment, a little bit higher likelihood you're going to come into contact with people who have it, but we'll see. But I still think the Rams. This is a real test for the Green Bay Packers offense. If they're as good as everyone thinks they are, they've had a very easy schedule this season, very easy. In fact,
especially against past defenses they faced.
Especially against past defenses, and this is a very real test. And we've seen this in years past, where a team that's as dynamic offensively all of a sudden in the playoffs doesn't look as good because they're going up against real competition all of a sudden. And this is it. Aaron Donald, if he's healthy, is going to be nasty on that pass rush. Aaron Rodgers coming down the blind side on him is going to be wild. Jalen Ramsey, potential matchup against Devontae Adams, is one I am very much looking forward to.
One wide receiver one.
Yeah. League wide, maybe. Right?
Yeah, this could be league wide. This is probably it. They probably live in the same neighborhood that Giannis lives in. Like whatever the really nice neighborhood in Milwaukee is, probably near the lake.
That makes sense. Okay. So right now,
Buffalo.
Before we move on,
you're not done with that one.
If you had to predict market movement, is this going?
I would say we saw it.
7?
I can see it going to a flat 7.
Okay.
I think there'll be a hunger for the Rams. The people we talk to are higher on the narrative, or what? It's not even a narrative because there's logic behind this. The fact that the Packers are going to get public money because they're high flying MVP Devontae Adams, but they haven't faced a tough pass defense. It's been a pretty cake schedule as far as that goes. So I think you will see Rams money. This ends up closing at a flat 7.
Well, Rams money, I meant flat 7, like 7 minus 110 right now. If you want to lay 7 with the Packers, you can do it for minus 102.
No, I didn't even look at the movement. Yeah,
I was expecting there could be some Packers money that brings us back to a flat 7. And
I think
jockeys
you
juice
get
wise between 115, 105 all week.
you'll probably get push pull on 7. I don't think 6.5 is a thing, is it? Are we seeing that at all?
Though I think I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think people want to pay 15 cents to. Maybe it is a 7 still. That people would bet Rams at 15. So,
all right. What about the total? A little bit back on the over. Right now, they want some money on over 46.
Nah, the key number of 46. I could see it getting bet up, with some quotes. Well, and especially if Donald's not practicing, maybe it gets bet up. Maybe that it's still as silly as to say a defensive lineman practicing will affect the total. That it could.
So the Green Bay, always potential that there's Green Bay weather this time of year. Have you looked at that yet?
No. I try not to look at weather this far ahead. Although it's been very mild up here. Like it's cold and whatnot, but man, we just have not got snow up this way.
Saturday afternoon, they're calling for
30-ish.
Yeah, low clouds, 26 degrees, wind 9 miles an hour, gusts 14. So nothing, cloud cover 98%. It's gonna be a gray day. It's gonna be a gray evening. Probably a dark, cool.
Yeah, dude, I haven't seen the sun in like 6 weeks. It's just cloudy every day here.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I'm super depressed right now. It's
vitamin D issues, man.
Yeah.
All right.
I got one of those special lights. All right, Baltimore Buffalo
Ravens. Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills are in the nightcap on Saturday. Prime time.
Again, in Buffalo. Hosting another game. With fans. You'll have fans at this one again, so it makes a little bit of a difference. The weather here.
2 young quarterbacks, 2 young athletes that were drafted in the same year, that were drafted after some other more highly touted prospects.
Yes.
That each one won their first playoff game.
Yeah. Chance of snow.
One of them an MVP.
Cold.
One of them, the top MVP candidate from this year. I saw at one point it was Baltimore +3. It's come into 2. Talking independently before we knew if this was even going to be the game, I gave you my number was Buffalo -1.5. So the fact that drifting, what's that? You
had a pick when I looked at it.
Okay, so the fact that it's drifting,
it's good for our sanity, I guess.
Yeah, it's drifting in the direction of what our numbers would make. The problem is the difference between a 2 and a pick and a 1.5, and it's not going to be much long term. So there's not.
And this is you got to clear your mind for this exercise, and you're good.
If you weren't up to your eyeballs in Baltimore,
you're asking the question I was going to ask.
Oh,
you're killing me with that. I said clear your mind. Do the.
Oh, okay.
You're from California. I'm sure you do yoga and Pilates and shit. And actually, yoga is pretty good for your posture.
Keep that course.
You were about to say the exact same thing I'm about to say. If you didn't have a single dime in Baltimore futures, in Baltimore Calcutta, in Baltimore exposure for anything, I think I'd bet Baltimore money line.
I think I would find a price.
Yeah, or like Baltimore -2.5 at +140, something like that.
Same. I think it's better than a 50-50. Even though my numbers say their Bills are a little better, this Ravens team is a truck right now. Yeah. And the way the Baltimore defense
this is the one I'm looking most forward to.
I guess the fact that the Baltimore defense passed the test of the Tennessee Titans offense has got me very encouraged about what they could do against the Buffalo offense and Josh Allen.
Yes.
The fact that Marlon Humphrey got pushed around by AJ Brown, but AJ Brown is a beast.
He's a scary effing dude.
He's a beast. Marlon Humphrey and what they like to do
schematically
with their cornerbacks, I think matches up a lot better against the likes of the Stephon Diggs of the world, the Cole Beasleys of the world. Buffalo's relatively one-dimensional. It's a passing attack only. Their rushing attack is pathetic. outside of whenever Josh Allen scrambles. We saw these two teams play once last year. It was a very windy day. It's potentially going to be a very windy day on Saturday night in Buffalo. Looking at potential 15-mile-an-hour winds, gusts in the 20s. Very, very important to keep an eye on that. The total has reacted appropriately. It has come down from 51 to 49.5. If you woke up and you looked at that total and you said,
some 50s.
Why is it 49.5? That is because there is weather speculation that this is going to be a wind game. Do you have an opinion on the total otherwise? Do you think it keeps going down?
I'm trying to help someone find YouTube right now. The stream is giving him shit on Periscope. So, yeah, classic. And they're the best part is they're thanking you because I'm using your avatar to type this in. But yeah, it's nice. deep dive sports betting podcast on YouTube. If you want to watch this on YouTube, it is much better on YouTube. So, and it's the exact same stream. So check it out over there and subscribe if you're not already.
Live chat there too.
If the weather gets bad, I mean, it'll depend more on wind. There's a chance of some snow, like 50-50 is what I'm seeing. So, yeah, I don't blame him for getting bet down. And it's probably a better matchup for both defenses. If you get what I'm saying. To a point. Like I was supremely disappointed as much as I did not want them to win. I was supremely disappointed in Tennessee and how they played. I don't think the Baltimore defense.
When you bring up the matchup for both defenses, I agree with you from Baltimore's defense against this Buffalo offense, but the other way around, I'm not sure. Buffalo invites you to run on them because they're trying to de-incentivize you from passing on them, right? Just because they're correct in most of the opponents they go up against. Their rushing attacks are minus EPA per play. And so every rush you get your opponent to rush, the better off you are. Baltimore is not a minus EPA per play on the ground. They are a very positive EPA per play on the ground. And inviting them to do that is asking for
but as far as a game plan standpoint, there's no chance you invite them to run the ball. Like
that's just their idea. That's their identity.
I know it's their identity.
They put on the field.
I know, but with the matchup, the opponent they have, that can't be the game plan. The game plan is take away Andrews. Try that. I mean, try that first off. Who's your top receiver? I don't know, Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood Brown. I mean, Andrews is your one. Brown.
I'm not having Trey shadow anybody. He's wherever he needs to be the most effective. And I am putting a safety in the box. I'm taking away more of the run. I'm taking away the middle seam stuff at the tight end. I'm inviting
though too.
It's not a good defense. I'm not saying it's a good defense. It's not a good defense. I'm saying I try to let Lamar beat me deep if that's what I'm going to play. So.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, I think they have a smart defensive coordinator. I think they have a smart coaching staff. Obviously, a smarter coach than Tennessee. And
I don't know if you're tackling poorly against this Ravens rushing.
I know. I'm not saying it's going to go well. It's still. I don't think it's a good offense or a good defense. But I know what I would try to do, and hopefully that's what they have. So, but it'll be something to see if they can stop this 3-4-headed running attack and Andrews. They'll have a chance. Otherwise, I don't know what, 34-0 Baltimore. Last one? No, we have two more. Wow, how am I?
Yeah, Sunday morning, Cleveland, Kansas City.
10 points is a lot of points.
We were making a joke, not really making a joke, but making a comment that in general the lines felt tight. This is the one that there's a surcharge.
Yeah, big.
And it's big.
It's big. Should be like 7.
What do you have to do from a number standpoint, downgrading Cleveland to get this to 10?
I mean, I would have to assume Baker's out and then also both running backs.
Because we're talking, I mean, what's the highest power number you've had on Kansas City all year?
Oh, I mean, 9. They're
9.
Yeah, right, low 9, I think.
Okay, but that was back when they were like playing well, right?
So let's give them 1 point for being off a double bye.
Okay.
Let's give them 1 point for being at home.
Okay.
So let's say their power number now becomes, let's say it's 8.5. Their power number becomes 10.5. That implies that Cleveland is an average team in the NFL. Is on par with the average team. This is something. So this is not where we can't live in that space. You know who's an average team? You know who's an average team? Minnesota's an average team.
Yeah.
Chicago's an average team. Atlanta is an average. These are
Miami.
the Chargers. This is not what this team is. This is a big effing number.
It is.
I don't understand. I mean,
it is.
And the Andy Reid. I know a lot of sharp people that are going to take this, and it still might blow up in their face.
Oh, of course, I'm going to be one of them.
I'm still at a spot here where I don't know. I don't know where we're going to sit as far as, was this team just effing around when they went through their 8 games of never covering and saving it for the postseason, or are they seriously still in this malaise? So if they come out with their hair on fire and they score touchdowns in their first 4 drives, I'm going to feel awful bad about this 10.5. But long term, I'm going to take this every time.
When was the last time you seen
it? I'm not in a hurry to bet this. I'm not. This number isn't going away.
I guess my initial thought that I have on this one, and again, I am a noted Kansas City truther, especially down the stretch here. But what we saw with Seattle against the Rams, where they couldn't flip the switch. It wasn't easy in the moment to say, okay, now we're going to play the good plays. Now we're going to be a dynamic offense. Yes.
It's the same line.
That was an 11 point.
It's funny we mentioned. Thank you, Xavier Balthazar.
Yes, thank you, Xavier.
We mentioned that game. We bet Kansas. We bet Atlanta in that game.
Atlanta. I took the points with Atlanta. Why wouldn't I take the points with Cleveland?
Yeah, Cleveland has a better offense,
much better
running game,
much better.
I'm going to take Hunt. I'm going to take Hunt and Chubb over Todd Gurley seven times a week and twice on Sundays.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just too high. If they lose by 30, they lose by 30. It's too high.
Do you think there is signal in the fact that Pat Mahomes grades as an average quarterback over the last half of the season?
No.
Why is it then?
Because his priors are strong enough.
Okay.
His priors grade out to be, he has played some of the most amazing 15-minute stretches of football I've seen in my entire life.
Same. Sure.
So those priors are too strong to say like that this team isn't good anymore, or whatever you want to say, or they're like a 7 on your power rating now. So
I know, but
either way,
enough to be demanding a surcharge.
I think the surcharge is Patty MVP last year, or Patty Super Bowl win, Patty 50 touchdowns 2 years ago, Andy Reid getting it done for 15 years, Andy Reid off a bye. The fact that team, even if you take away the names, players, and just do a blind resume, it's a team off a bye. Not only a bye, but essentially a double bye, getting to rest. Like that's how much are we weighting that? And for me, it's a point. It's still just a point.
Okay. How about the fact that
Cleveland, and for intangibles, Cleveland's got juice right now.
They got players coming back off of COVID. They got a coach coming back off of COVID. They got we're probably gonna see Joel Bitonio. That's gonna help with some of the offensive line issues, right? We're guessing we're gonna see Bitonio.
I mean, everybody played pretty well, even the backups against a tough pass rush.
Yeah,
I mean, Kansas City has a couple decent pass rush pieces, but it's not Pittsburgh. So I'm a little concerned about their O-line, but not enough to pass up this point.
Yeah. I think this is a dangerous spot. I think Kansas City is still. I don't know that I'm running to grab. Oh my God, the money line on the Browns. Did you see what it is?
At 10, what is it, like 350?
Plus 415.
My goodness.
What's that for a number? They're only going to get you get 10K down on that though. The Browns have a chance in this game.
I think so, but
I'm going
not
to take
holding my breath for that.
Do you think this gets worse before it gets better? Can I wait for a 10.5? I mean, right now it's juiced in favor of Cleveland. So plus 10 is minus 111. So there's going to have to be some push to get it even out to 10.5.
I'm fine with the 10. I don't think it's getting too crazy.
You don't think it's going to go to 10.5?
No.
Bet Online wrote a lot of tickets at 8.5 and 9 and whatnot, by the way. Do you get why they wanted those? That's
not sure.
Interesting.
And I guess truthfully, getting out to 11 doesn't seem crazy because it's not like some big value. 11 is not some big value number. Like if books take a big chunk on 10 at Kansas City, they're not jumping. They're not saying like, oh, we're just gonna juice the piss out of the 10. No, they'll just move to 11. They don't care. It's not like they're going to get middled on 10 and 11.
Are you already tired of the narrative of Cleveland just won their Super Bowl? This is a letdown spot.
I don't buy into that stuff.
Okay.
I think they have a very good coach.
I find that totally ridiculous. Yeah, they just
and we didn't really. The thing is too that we talk about all the bad coaching decisions. We didn't really get a chance, and also he was sitting in a basement somewhere anyway. But we didn't get a chance to see what Cleveland was prepared to do in a high leverage situation because they were never put in one. They were up 7-0. They completed a pass that he ran around every defender, scored. It was 14-0. Another turnover. It's just they were fine. So we didn't get to really see the nails put to the Cleveland coaching staff yet. So this will be interesting to see if they get some situations like, are you going for this 4th down? This is you're not up 21-0 right now.
Thing is, they're going to get those 4th down converted because their rushing attack and their offensive line is good, and Kansas City does not stop the 4th down rush very well.
It's funny. I'm talking about shitting on 11 being a value number. Sorry to anyone who had the Bears. I didn't even think of that. Good call, Boo, this fan. That is funny that they got that. It's not funny because they didn't really deserve to cover that game.
No. Total on this one? You think if we are correct and the Browns are live, this is a dead nut over, even though it's 56?
Yes. If the Browns are in the game, it continues to be a live over game.
Browns are bad on defense.
If the Browns don't show up at all, if the Browns don't show up at all, it might be an under game. Okay. As far as Kansas City with the lead has not shown the killer instinct. They're not stomping on throats right now. So if
you're telling me parlay over 56 with plus 415 money line.
I think so.
Got it. You want to guess what that pays? Whoa, max risk 10K? No way. What?
On a parlay?
You want to guess what the payout is?
On plus 415, so 5 times. It's 70,000.
9-1.
9-1's not bad.
10K pays $89,185.
Easy.
I'm surprised that they're taking 10.
I know. And Skyfish, I just thought of this too. As far as the teaser, if it's at 10.5, it's like shit. That's a nice teaser number too.
Yeah, you're getting. Our audience is too smart for you. Our audience isn't buying your bullshit, man. They're too smart for you.
Well, there is some value on 10.5 we've shown to tease at 6 points.
Oh, dude, there's more money coming in on Cleveland as we speak. Plus 10 for Cleveland Brown is down to minus 108 now. Yeah. So I think
Cleveland
directionality wise,
and KC in a teaser. See if I can do something with put them together.
Okay. Last game, Tampa Bay is now at plus 3. This is coming from 3.5. I struggle to see the value on this side either way. And I don't think it's going to go to 2.5. Do you? I think the tide has already turned a little bit, and this is heading back out towards a juicy 3 if you want to back New Orleans. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so too.
Do you have any?
The only, it's hard to beat it. So, and also, we just want this on record. I've seen people tweet this out. I've run this number before too. I've seen other people run this number with their databases. If a team beats somebody twice in the regular season, it's not the narrative. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. If a team sweeps a team in the regular season, they win the third game like 66% of the time. Like 2/3 of the time they win the game.
I like those odds.
Yeah, there's not some, and it's funny.
So you're telling me it's plus EV to back New Orleans at -163 on the money line. That's what
I was going to say. I was just going to make the joke that money line's like -160. It should be -200.
In the back of your head, do you have any appetite for the dog in this one?
Not really. I'm hoping for a fun live over game. I'm hoping both offenses did leave the good plays for week 2, and we can have a fun back and forth. But I think the Saints do get this done. Okay. Although we did make a case for Tampa is healthy as shit. If you're backing Tampa, are you taking 3 or are you just taking the money line?
Money line.
Yeah.
New Orleans has been a little choky at home in the playoffs. Just a little too much over my lifetime to not think that they don't have another choke in them.
Second straight travel spot for Tampa too. So, and what was their last game of the season?
They played the Atlanta Falcons in Tampa, I believe.
It was in Tampa, I think. Yes, it was. So only the second straight road game, but yeah. Straight road game.
The Ravens are the third straight roadie.
I think if you wanted Tampa, you wanted the 3.5, you might get it again.
I think so too. Okay, so just real quick market predictions. You think we're going to see push pull at 7 for the Rams? We think Ravens continues to come into pick.
It might end up a pick. That would be. There's a big hunger for the Josh Allen train, but I think the real money might come in on Baltimore.
You may get a 10.5, which according to Andy is worth nothing.
Absolutely.
And then Tampa Bay, I think, is trending back.
That's why I said I'm waiting. I don't think you're getting a 9. I don't think we're going to 9.5.
No.
I don't think we reverse course. It's not going back.
No. I think it goes out to 10.5. I really do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's reconvene on Wednesday
with a fun guest.
Yep. That Buffalo total, by the way, I think is going to keep going down as the weather reports come in. Cleveland, KC, I think.
Like that under, hit that now because
I think there's
going to be talk of snow. There's talk.
There's going to be some sharp players that come in on Bucks Saints under. I bet. Familiarity narrative, divisional rivalry narrative, Saints defense is really quite good narrative. Don't you think that pushes that total down to 50-ish?
Yeah, the familiarity thing. You see that all season, and like when a team plays a couple games, the offense looks good, and then they get a divisional game, and that there's a bit of inflation, and then people come in and just hammer that divisional game under. So that could be a thing, yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's reconvene on Wednesday. Good job, and thank God the Ravens are in the playoffs. Never heard of him.
People are trying to guess the guest. He won't return our calls.
Yeah, no, he's too busy.
And yes, thanks for watching the stream. Thanks for listening to this. If you have listened to this as a podcast, and there is a limited time now. We're actually putting a time limit on this. I talked to Reed this morning. So
really?
Yeah, like the next 10 days or so, maybe 2 weeks. I'm gonna get a firm date on this before we're gonna lock up the hoodie promo. We will do other hoodie promos as other states pop up, but New Jersey and Colorado, get signed up, get your friends signed up, get the $500 risk-free bet, get the free hoodie at WinBet, and support the content. And we appreciate any help you can get to that. And Herbalife, I love that. Thanks from France. Thanks from Texas. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday with a special guest. And if you're on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, do that too. Love you guys, everyone.
Is Hot Topic still a thing?
I think there's one at my mall. I haven't been to my mall in ever, man.
You guys still have malls?
There's a Spencer's Gifts. Yes, we have a mall. Where are you going to put your Abercrombie and your pretzel maker? You got to have somewhere to serve pretzels.
That's a flashback. I haven't thought about Abercrombie and Fitch in a long time.
Oh my God. And what's the